to our top story now. Finance Minister Tito Mboweni is not a man to be envied today. Mboweni is delivering his budget speech and has to convince South Africans that the economy can be revived. Weak growth, ballooning debt and cash-guzzling state-owned enterprises are expected to feature strongly when he delivers the 2020 budget. ENC's Devin Murugan is in Cape Town and he tells us what we can expect.
What we do know about today's budget from Finance Minister Tito Mboweni is that it certainly will be an unpalatable one. It's an unenviable task. The Finance Minister has to make efforts to increase revenue that the economy collects in forms of taxes or drastically cut spending in order to get our debt levels in check. President Cyril Ramaphosa, in his words, saying the debt levels are unsustainable. Well, at this Nedbank Old Mutual event, we spoke to Chief Economist from Old Mutual, Jan Els, about the Finance Minister's efforts to cut spending and whether or not he will get it right.
If you don't cut the wage bill, then you cannot cut that amount. So the wage bill, government and the unions are still in an agreement until the next year, so they have to renegotiate that. So that's why I don't expect any significant expenditure cuts in this budget. Maybe we'll get some promises in terms of wage bill expenditure cuts next year, but if he really wants to satisfy investors and the ratings agencies by cutting the deficit this year already, he needs to do it now. And that's why I fear that it might fall onto taxes and not expenditure cutbacks.
And then there's the issue of the impact on the consumer. Now, we've heard commentary over the past few weeks on how consumers will feel the pinch of the moves made at this budget. Most of all, it could come in the form of taxes, whether it's the fuel levy, the road accident fund levy, or most importantly or significantly, your VAT rate, which went up to 15% from 14% in 2018. Economists are now saying that could very well take another leap to a 16% VAT rate at this budget.
If you look at corporate tax, why it's tough is because some of the peer countries on the continent, like your Nigeria, even Rwanda, their corporate tax is much lower. So it means indirectly you might chase away investors in that regard. And if you look at personal tax, it's already the largest at this point in time. So the only way, from my view, is VAT. Even though from last year, recently, it was increased again. But VAT, if you look at VAT, why it's more important is because it's a broader base. And maybe one might also need to consider some of those zero-rated products as well to be able to make the consumer feel a bit better.
Whatever moves the Finance Minister makes in the budget speech, one thing's clear, the ratings agencies will be watching, in particular Moody's. It's the only ratings agency that has us on investment grade, and if that downgrades into junk status, South Africa is in big trouble, because you may see the rand weakening and from there a whole lot of economic consequences, including high interest rates. So all eyes on this budget today around about 2 o'clock this afternoon.